Haynes has finally been toppled, and an interesting parallel, Alex Ellis has now spat out a hat trick in a similar fashion to Joey. And yet, their lack of perfect attendance means neither leads the points. Can Hardman finally break his duck and claim victory? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 5 of the Radical Cup Canada Winter Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Barber Motorsports Park is one of the most recent generations of racetracks built in North America. To see what this fantastic facility has in store, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Barber Motorsports Park. Located just east of Birmingham, Alabama, this is one of the newer circuits in American road racing. The track was built in 2003 by George Barber to go along with his Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, which can be seen appropriately from Museum Corner on the track. While the main circuit is the full course, which includes 16 turns over roughly 2.25 miles, there are also two lesser used layouts called the Short A and Short B courses. The track is known for its technical layout and hugely dramatic elevation changes. In every category of racing, it carries a reputation of making overtakes difficult. That's not to say it's impossible, with most passes happening into Charlotte's Web. Named for the spider sculpture outside the hairpin, it often suckers drivers into braking too deep with a sudden drop just as you attempt to slow the car down. That's not the most challenging part of the circuit, though. Museum Corner is reminiscent of turns like the corkscrew, with its blind entry, multiple apexes, and cliff-like plunge down a hill. IndyCar and IMSA have visited many times in the past decade, while motorcycle racing is also a regular staple here. Practice and precision are usually required to be able to find a fast lap, but there's a heavy dose of bravery also needed in a number of spots. Despite the track being very wide, accidents often collect multiple cars due to the lack of visibility over crests. All in all, this place proves tough to even seasoned veterans. But with the hillsides and trees providing beautiful natural viewing spaces and an immaculate facility, it's no wonder fans keep showing up in droves to watch the racing here. Well, Joey, I will say and admit that I'm your typical race fan that tends to prefer a lot of old school tracks, but this one kind of bucks that trend. I love this place.
It is a really interesting track with a lot of character to it, and surprisingly, a lot of elevation change that all these drivers are going to have to tame, including going down into turn 1. The track really falls away from you, and something tricky about turn 1. Also, the exit just kind of seems to drop away from the car, and you can never keep it on the track. And a couple big areas that we'll have to watch out for tonight, especially in these cars, is heading down into turn 5. It's probably the biggest passing opportunity, so we'll see who can dive latest on the brakes, and then always the Museum Corner, that series of turns 7, 8, and 9. It is so tricky. Once again, it falls away from the driver downhill, and you have to manage the car up and over these curbs without overstepping the limit. And trust me, it doesn't end there. The whole rest of the half of the lap is very technical, and we're going to see how these drivers kind of tame Barber Motorsports Park.
Indeed, and that's a good word to use for it, trying to tame this place for sure. Now, as for the championship situation, I mentioned it, Hardman is leading the points, but he has not won a race yet. He's got 2 third places, he's got 3 second places, so he's been close, but just can't seem to get it. His consistency has really been absolutely key. Haynes and Ellis, though, are extremely fast. They just haven't attended as many races, so they'll probably start catching up here. Hardman's got to start beating them out on the circuit. Arsenault, the latest one to have to miss a round last time out, slips down into 4th as well, with Broomhead behind them, and then it tightens up in that battle for 6th between Bedard, Buchanan, and Jasper, and a tie for 9th with Yang and Todd down there. What about in the team standings here, Joey? What's that one look like?
We really have 2 main battles, but up top it is Britannia Esports leading the way with 168 points. You see there, Evolve Sim Sports only 6 points behind currently, very close between the top two, and then it falls back a little bit, but a close battle only separated by 1 point. Atomic Racing in third and Top Gun Racing in fourth place currently. We'll have to keep an eye on those drivers, see how it shakes out, and then once you get a little bit further back, there's Ellis Engineering in fifth place, and then these teams further on back, they're only separated by a couple points, so it's really going to be which drivers can produce the best results and try to leapfrog their team up a little bit.
Now, for the races themselves, if you're not familiar with this series, you actually get two of them tonight. We'll have a sprint and a feature, with the sprint being only 15 minutes long, the feature being twice the length, 30 minutes. It will include a pit stop for fuel. And pitting in at this track requires some practice. Hopefully we'll get a chance to maybe get an onboard to show you just how tight it is down there. They don't have a spare car if they get damaged, which is going to be a bit more key in the feature race with the longer length. Obviously, if you find time to go get repairs, you can, but that'll add on to your pit stop, no doubt. They have a drive-through penalty at 20 incidents and a disqualification at 30, but this is not a track that really likes seeing the car go off track much. It's got barriers pretty close in a lot of spots, so could be more likely that you'll wind up with damage and be more concerned about that no spare car than getting some sort of disqualification out there. Before we get to the racing, we want to remind you that this is the official virtual counterpart to the real-life M-Zone Radical Cup Canada. If you're a racer looking to get into one of these thrilling machines for a test day, a race weekend, or purchase a car and join the series, contact Rob Burgess of Radical Canada at robert@radicalcanada.ca to get started. We've talked a lot about how cool these things are to see in real life. Imagine racing them. You too could do that. Qualifying is underway, and we got about 4 minutes left, it looks like, with Suelo Almeida currently up at the top. Not who I expected, if I'm honest, Joey, because Phil Bouchard was looking fast in the warm-up, and we were given a heads up that he's likely to be a challenge for Alex Ellis today.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I'm keeping my eye on Alex Ellis. He's always one of the consistent front runners and race winners here, and he's showing good speed, still in the provisional third place right now. Can probably sneak in a couple more laps given that these cars are only doing what here, about minute 16 seconds, so could probably fit in a couple more laps given that there's still 3 minutes left.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not a long lap around this track. Seems to be a theme about North American tracks compared to a lot of European tracks, that they're just a little bit shorter in length most often. Only one driver is yet to set a time, Rob Burgess. Otherwise, everybody's at least got one representative lap on the board. Checking to see if anybody is on a hot lap currently. And right now, not seeing anyone that's looking like they're close to setting a faster time. Although Bedard early on his lap in the number 83 is looking like he might improve, but he's still got much of the lap left to go.
Agreed. I'm searching here for some fast cars, and it looks like maybe Nick Horvath is out there, another one of these fast competitors. Joey Haynes as well, always fast out there. He's currently in the 7th position, and just gonna have to see how everybody sorts it out. I love this shot right here, this blimp shot. Look at how busy the racetrack is. It looks like we've got 21 competitors all vying for the same piece of the racetrack out here, and it can get pretty busy.
Yeah, I only see what looks like about 5 cars in pit lane. So yeah, they're all out there right now and working hard to try and improve their lap time. And it's going to be tight on whether or not Bedard manages to improve, because he's just hovering around that 0 mark on my timing screen right now. I wonder if we could get the cameras on the 83 to see if he's going to try and get a quicker time in. No, he's just shy by less than a tenth, unfortunately. But Alex Ellis is coming around to finish his lap. Oh, he just had an off track, unfortunately. And it looks like he is not going to have this one count.
Yeah, I was watching him, and you're right. He had a good lap going. Had a car in front of him that he was dealing with, but unfortunately he himself took it off driver's left. But he's actually going to start one right here, get across the stripe with about 1:20 left, so he'll be one of the last cars to be able to put down a green flag lap.
Oof, yeah, that will be interesting since, yeah, they aren't able to complete hot laps here. They've really got to hustle as right now we are on board with Bedard coming out of the museum corner through the back stretch. Look at how quick these chicanes are through here. This I always thought was very terrifying. I don't know what it's like in real life, Joey, but in the sim, it certainly gets my attention.
It is a tremendous racetrack to drive. Look at the quick hands as he's got to catch the car over the crest. But I mentioned it, I think the last half of this racetrack is really technical. It's about hitting your marks, and you think that you can go overcharging in more than what you can. As long as you drive to what the car's ability is, you'll be okay. But as soon as you overstep it, you're right, you go off over these crests. And you mentioned it, the walls are pretty close here.
Find anybody who is on a quick lap here, and not seeing many that look like they're going to go any quicker, as Bedard is essentially done. The 35 is coming around, but will he get to the finish in time because he's close to improving? He's got 3 seconds left. He's not going to make it. So qualifying is over. Looks like our grid for the sprint race is set. And it is Suelo Almeida who is going to be starting on the pole. Phil Bouchard will be P2, and Alex Ellis will be starting from the inside of row 2. Scott Bedard will be P4, followed by Stephen Jeffrey in 5th, Andrew Hardman P6, and Michael Broomhead in 7th. Joey Haynes all the way down in 8th today here in the sprint qualifying. Will give him some work to do. Horvath starts 9th, and Boyd will round out your top 10.
We got a couple more Joeys here. Joseph Yang in the 11th spot and Joey Tebben in the 12th position there. Dave Peterson, 13th. Robert Ridgway, 14th. Asad Nikodenbev in 15th position. Christian Jasper in 16th. John Benwalid, Dante Quisp, James Carter, and Stefan Sutherland in the 20th position. Also looks like we have Robert Burgess all the way back there in 21st.
Looks like they're getting ready to go, and it is a rolling start in this series, so they'll have to do a full pace lap around here. Just waiting on Ridgway and Burgess to find their way out on the track, and then we will be on our way. It's been a little bit warm out on the circuit. In fact, it cooled down somewhat from the practice to 96 Fahrenheit. I think it was 100 plus for a while, Joey. So they'll be slipping and sliding a little bit, but at least it won't be outrageous.
It's very much like a Barber day. Honestly, the air temp is a little cool to be in Alabama, but yeah, there's plenty of very, very warm and humid Barber Motorsports Park days, and shaping up to be like one here in the virtual world.
So, yep, they got everybody out there now, so we will be ready to go, and they'll be able to try and prep these cars to get racing here today. Bouchard showing up, from what we understand, in a bit of a one-off wild card to see what he can do. And I'm pretty sure Almeida is a new driver that we haven't had yet before either. He seems to be pretty quick based on what we've seen in qualifying. So he seems to be able to back it up here. Now he's got to try and hold it down in the race, because let's not forget, it's also the reverse grid for those top 10 once we get to the feature.
I really like the format that this series does with the 15-minute sprint plus the 30-minute feature and the top 10 grid inverter. I just think it really throws a nice curveball, but not something totally that's going to flip the race upside down.
Coming over the crest there out of turn 4. I would love to hear more corner names be given here, because I do love the ones they have here, Joey. And I've kind of floated this half jokingly, half serious. I feel like 4 needs to be called Newgarden's Crest, because we all saw what happened in IndyCar that one year.
Yeah, and trust me, it happens more often than what you think. Coming up out of turn 3 here, you're at one of the lowest parts of the racetrack, and you really climb rapidly up to turn 4, and you have no sight reference whatsoever. You can barely see the top of that timing tower. So it is completely blind coming up to turn 4. You just have to aim the car where you think the apex is and go.
And these things will have a fair bit of downforce, but that first lap, it's going to be cold tires. unless they can really get them warmed up. So hopefully they'll be on their toes to watch out for that. And here along the back stretch, it gets very tight and narrow, single file here through this chicane, leading down towards the dip, which takes you into the tunnel turn. So they'll have lots to do on this first lap, as well as trying to find track position amongst each other. Expect it to be quite single file. This place is a bit notorious for passing being a very difficult undertaking.
Well, and you mentioned the tire warm-up. This section of the racetrack that they're going through right here, you really need to be able to trust the car as you come up and over these crests, and tire temperature is crucial for that.
It is absolutely. It looks like they are getting ready to go as we've got Phil Bouchard, the wild card here, ready to give us his onboard view for the day. Let's see if he can beat Almeida as well as Ellis. Ellis, the one who's been here really stopping people for much of the season. And the green flag is out. Big jump there from Suelo. He is already up ahead of P2 and P3 as they come down into turn 1. This is often a narrowing point down into here right at the very beginning of the race. And unfortunately, it is going to see at least 2 offs in the background. Looks like we've had Mark Boyd, and I believe Assad has also had a problem there at the very beginning. We'll try to get back to them in a bit.
Yeah, looks like just a car really sent it down there into turn 1, and Mark Boyd was the unlucky end of that. But here we got a nice drag race coming off of turn 5 for the first time. That's Almeida and Bouchard dueling it out.
Bouchard trying to go around the outside as they come down into Museum Corner the first time in anger, but it's not going to stick. Ellis close behind them. Just an absolute train of cars. Great exit by the 73, being right on top of Suelo. The number 1 is dealing with a lot of pressure immediately. Don't know a whole lot about that number 1 driver, but I'd say I am impressed thus far.
It looks like Bouchard is really applying some pressure here on the first lap, though, and Alex Ellis, I think, is being smart about this. These front 2 are being very aggressive. Alex Ellis is our, one of the front runners in the championship. Be smart here at the beginning.
Absolutely. His fight probably isn't with these guys. He needs to think about the big picture, and they are stretching away somewhat. Stephen Jeffrey, who sits in 4th, is just about a second behind, and they're only on the 2nd lap, so they can keep that up. They'll continue to pull that ahead. Oh, Scott Bedard is the latest to fall victim to turn 1. He just had an off there.
I mentioned it pre-race. Turn 1 is really tricky. It's all the way downhill, and it looks like side by side just claimed a victim down there into turn 1.
You can see he's back with Rob Burgess now, who I think had a little contact with Assad at the lap 1 as Assad was coming back onto the track.
We got more problems down in turn 5. Looks like maybe it's Joey Tebbin around, and more cars off down there. It is so tricky, and these cars are still getting tire temperature warmed up. Turn 5, your eyes light up. I can take it deep in the braking zone, and it always bites back.
Yeah, that dip down there seems to make it so hard to nail it and really get the most out of it as we watch Bouchard work his way up over the tunnel turn and into the final carousel here. He's been hanging on to Suelo and has been doing his best to make sure that he just does not run away. And then Ellis behind them just kind of sitting patiently, biding his time. But that was a bit better of a lap for the number 1. He pulls himself a few car lengths away from Bouchard.
I'm actually pretty impressed with this 249 right now. Stefan Jeffrey, he's moved up 1 position from where he started and kind of crawled it back to Alex Ellis, and he's definitely part of this front group.
Up and over turn 4. As Horvath follows behind Broomhead down into Charlotte's Web, trying to get down to that apex without overshooting the corner. Just behind them, looks like Joseph Yang did in a big way and is going to lose time and also make himself vulnerable to Joey Haynes. Now, remember, Haynes was looking very good early in the season, took 3 straight wins, and suddenly finds himself falling backwards recently. So not sure what has caused this slump, but he certainly seems to be struggling a bit as we come back to Bouchard once more. And it's not much of a change up here. The top 3 kind of nose to tail with Stephen Jeffrey, still losing bit by bit, but not as much as that first lap. He's only down to 9/10 here.
And then you also have Andrew Hardman there in the 5th spot, just about a second and a half back here, and he's another one of the championship contenders. And Joe, you mentioned Joey Haynes and kind of the slip. He's already lost one position. He's on the back of Joseph Yang right now, and we got to remember there is that top 10 grid invert, but you want to have a good sprint race so that way you carry the momentum into the feature.
Exactly. Is Bedard going to go side by side with Carter? And looks like he is going to get that position. Not easy to make those passes into turn 1. He's only up to 16th. If he can make it to 10th, that'll give him a great advantage up in the main race, starting from pole position. But he is taking it right out to the edge of the track is behind it. Looks like another overtake for Joey Tebben, who had a problem on lap 1 down into this very corner. And James Carter losing multiple spots this lap.
Multiple spots, James Carter, and also Joseph Yang and Joey Haynes went off there in turn 5, both losing a ton of track position and positions on track. Back down to 12th now for Joey Haynes.
They come over the crest once again between P1, 2, and 3. Now it's getting a little bit closer, and this time it's looking like Bouchard's starting to poke his nose. We've seen clever moves in real life up into those last couple corners a few times, and maybe Phil is starting to consider them.
And you mentioned it, it really is a one-lane racetrack around the majority of this place, so sometimes you do have to try to get creative and surprise somebody, take them off guard in order to put them out on that outside foot and make that pass.
Down into Charlotte's Web once more. Bouchard really putting the pressure on to Almeida. And Alex Ellis is not giving up on this hunt behind them. Looks like that Jeffrey is now up to 1.7 seconds behind. Is down through Museum Corner. Great plunge as we hop on board with Phil. Wonder if we could take another look at his driver webcam as he is just intensely focused on the gearbox of that number 1.
He's got to be careful because if he gets too close, you know, he's got to lift off the gas, and Alex Ellis is going to take that run at him, but he's showing great concentration and patience right now to just try to go up, and here he is around the outside. This is one of those unconventional moves, Joe. See if he can stick it up the inside here. He's going for the lead. He's going to have the track position going down into turn 1.
Really holding on, and that's going to make him vulnerable, though. Here comes Ellis, and he's going to go to the inside, but can't keep the speed up as a little dip of the wheels off onto the grass for Almeida. Causes him to lose momentum, but he had the inside through the Alabama roller coaster. It's not over. Bouchard, oh, he's off the course. Our former leader has to save it, and somehow he keeps it from going in the barrier, but now the battle is between Ellis and Bouchard. He tries to cut back to take it.
Yeah, and Ellis is going to have a better run, but he's going to try to stick it out on the outside here. Bouchard just has to take it deep on the brakes, which Alex Ellis takes it deeper. He's going to try to keep it on the racetrack. He does. They bang doors a little bit at the bottom of the hill, but Bouchard hangs on.
As they finally get back single file. Almeida didn't lose that much either. Ooh, great run here from Ellis. He is going to try and see if he can take it down into the tunnel turn. This is very hard to go wheel to wheel, and he's somehow going to do it. Cut back, a little bit of contact between them, and right back to the inside as they come into the finishing carousel. I can't believe the racing we're getting. It's halfway through this sprint. They're acting like this is for the win in the feature.
And Bouchard is the one on the outside this time, and oh no, Alex Ellis loses it just after a little bit of side-to-side contact. He's got heavy damage.
And he's not taking off. I wonder if this is day over. There he goes. He takes a tow. That's a real shame. It was so fantastic up to that point, and honestly, it felt like there was a lot of respect between them up to there. He lost control of the car in one of the places you really can't afford to.
I would say it was really good racing. Bouchard left maybe one lane down there. He squeezed them, but they were still racing side by side. It's one of those tricky corners that if it comes out on you, trying to catch it, it's so tough, and putting the throttle down at the same time, and unfortunately it just scooted off to the right side.
Well, like I said, it's not over, but we're going to switch back to Joey Haynes here in the meantime. Still fighting for that 9th position with Dante Quispe just in front of him. And that number 15 is up 9 positions, so he's made incredible inroads over the course of this race. The Evolve Sim Sports driver is poking his nose left and right, seeing if he can find an opening, but none forthcoming.
This is a really good battle. Joey Haynes is trying to pick himself back up here. He's taking a look down the inside, trying to be patient. I mentioned he went off on turn 5 earlier, and I think as long as he just regroups himself right now, he knows that he's going to be in a good starting position for the feature.
As they fly down through turn 1 and tries to once again take a little bit of a look into the Alabama roller coaster. Just not going to quite be there for now. Let's see if he can maybe sneak something in, coming up towards the Charlotte's Web. Hairpin around the outside as Dante is going to defend hard. We'll deny him for the time being. Great defense from the 15, trying to play it cool.
I'm really impressed with the bravery around the outside of some of these corners, and I think it's due to the spec cars. You know, they're all the same, and kind of their relatively high downforce levels and the medium speed corners here. It's just a really good package.
Out of the chicane. Ooh, a lot of curb there for both of them. These cars don't like to be bounced around too much. You can see how low to the ground they are. Again, this is actually going to be pretty important. Who is going to wind up starting on pole between them? Although, if they stay where they are, this will be your front row here. And so far, Kispe getting a lot of experience on how to hold faster drivers behind, which will definitely come in handy in that feature race. Back to Suelo. He is still up on the second spot, trying to chase down Bouchard. Remember, he started from pole position, but is a little bit stuck now that he made that mistake through turn 4.
He has crawled it back in, though. You know, it was really that battle between Ellis and Bouchard out front, and Almeida was just trying to hang on there, and now we're seeing him consistently close it in on Phil Bouchard out front, and under half a second between the front two.
Love the racing that we're getting out of today. Here jumping on board to show you the speed these things can run at. Watching over the shoulder of Almeida, trying to see if he can do something to the leader. Big rise car, likes to get light there through that tunnel turn. Despite the name, it's actually up and over the tunnel that you are driving on. And onto the front stretch to complete it as they get ready to cross the line. It is down to 3 minutes left to go here. Let's see if he can actually take this lead back and get a sprint win over the man that many had considered to be the one that would be the challenge for the victory.
It'll be interesting to see, and one of the crucial points here is going to be turn 5. I always judge how the car gets out of the corner here, and oh no, Almeida makes a little bit of a lockup going into the corner, loses just a little bit of time, not out of touch though.
Yeah, as they start to come up to the lap traffic though, that could cause a little bit of a hiccup, and things just like that as Burgess tries to slow and let them through. That causes a checkup for Bouchard, but it's so hard to pass, and it looks like Almeida, unfortunately, not able to find an opening, at least at this point. Do they have any other traffic ahead of them? Because I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2 laps left. No more traffic. That could have been his best opportunity.
I think we'll have 2 laps left here as we come to the line. This one plus 1 more. And Almeida looks to have a lot of speed in the car. And I also see just a little bit of front end damage on Bouchard. I don't know if it's slowing it down, but I know as a driver, anytime you have those close calls, it can get to you mentally. Coming
out of the Alabama roller coaster, one of those big drops in elevation, compressing at the bottom, up and over 4 now. He's right there. He's doing what he needs to do and staying with it. And they have absolutely left Stephen Jeffrey in the dust. It's 3 seconds behind him. It's only a 15-minute race, so that's a nice little handy gap that they've built up, and they're free to race from here. But they're going to get the white flag next time by. If you're Almeida, I mean, you've got the obvious place to try and pass down into Charlotte's Web, Joey, but what do you do other than that?
It's tough. You really have to just kind of get up close to them and hope for a mistake, or maybe pressure them into a mistake and be able to slip up the inside in one of these unconventional spots. We've talked about how they've gone too wide on some of the entries, and I think if you get close enough, maybe try to push the entry on the outside a little bit and see what happens.
Yeah, I got to think you're going to have to catch him by surprise at some point, because Phil is no doubt going to be defending wherever he can, making sure that he gets good exits exactly where he needs them. And there's the white flag as they cross the line. One more to go in the sprint. Who's going to be starting 10th and who's going to be starting 9th?
Oh, big slide out of Almeida. Had a lot of yaw angle coming out of that car down the hill, and Bouchard's able to scoot out just a little. He just needs to hit the brake zone, focus on putting the throttle down on the exit. That's where he's going to be able to gap Almeida.
Right now, he's gapping him quite well. It's 0.4 of a second. Going to be very tough to try and do anything from here. Phil, starting from that second place, had to make some interesting moves to try and get up to the point, but now that he has, he doesn't seem to be quicker than Suelo, but he is quick enough to at least look like he could potentially hold him off as they fly through the chicanes along the backside of the course, past the crowd, and then going to come up over the tunnel turn. He has done everything he needs to do. All he has to do from here is just hit his marks on these last couple corners, and he'll come in with a splash and a victory here at the first time of asking. From the final turn, Phil Bouchard is going to take the win here in the sprint race for the Radical Cup Canada Series.
Really good run from that number 73 to take home the sprint victory. And we got to remember, still got a 30-minute feature to come, and that's Nick Horvath crossing the line just in front of Christian Jasper. And looks like Joey Haynes, oh no, Joey Haynes, some problems. He had fought it all the way back up to 8th place, and trouble on the last lap.
I wonder if this is going to have championship implications there, because I think it was at least 9th at that point, and he's well outside of the top 10. Bedard fought his way back. He's still down from where he started, but he will indeed start on pole as Haynes finally crosses the line in 14th, and it looks like we'll see 17 drivers finish on the lead lap of our 21 starters in this 15-minute race. Here's Sutherland as well, who comes out of the final few turns up 4 from where he began, kind of quietly just picking this race off with a net gain of those few positions. It looks like race is pretty much over, so let's go through the finishing order of this first race of the evening. And Phil Bouchard will take the win and will be regrid 10th for the feature. Suelo Almeida will start from 9th place as he finished in 2nd. Jeffrey wound up in the 3rd position, Hardman 7th, and Michael Broomhead in 6th. Nick Horvath was P5, as Christian Jasper was 5th, and Robert Ridgway 3rd. Dante Quispe wound up in the 9th position. I know this is not what we're seeing on screen, but I'll read this out to you. And Scott Bedard will finish 10th today.
There in the 11th spot, you have Dave Peterson, followed up with Asad Nikadimbev there in the 12th position. Joseph Yang coming home 13th. Joey Haynes with that unfortunate last lap all the way back into the 14th position. Joey Tebben 15th. Steven Sutherland 16th. James Carter 17th. And then Robert Burgess 1 lap down. Alex Ellis multiple laps down, as well as John Benwillid and Mark Boyd.
So if you can't do the reverse in your head, the grid for the feature, we'll see Bedard on pole, Quispe on 2nd, with Robert Ridgway in the 3rd position. It'll be Christian Jasper in 4th, followed by Nick Horvath in P5. Michael Broomhead starts from 6th, and Andrew Hardman in 7th. Stephen Jeffrey will begin in P8. Then it is Suelo Almeida 9th, and Phil Bouchard starting from 10th. We're going to grid up once again and take another pace lap. Then we'll be on our way for the feature with the 30-minute events and a pit stop involved.
I mentioned it. I really like this format because you have a little appetizer, you know, try some moves out, see where the racing line is going to be, kind of judge the waters of how everyone else is racing, how aggressive they are, and now settle in. You got 30 minutes to really go after and get after this final checker flag, and not only that, but you got some good racing up front due to the top 10 grid invert.
Absolutely. Seemed like we saw a number of drivers just have trouble with the track itself. Is this kind of a race, Joey, where you anticipate it'll pay better to just race the circuit and not each other?
I think that's due to the passing opportunities and being a one-lane racetrack. And when you try to make moves that aren't there, you oftentimes overstep the limits. So yes, I totally agree. You have to drive to your limit, drive to the racetrack and nothing more, because otherwise you're just going to overstep it and people are going to scoot right on by.
As we come back to live pictures here, with being a little bit later in the afternoon now, the temperatures have continued to plunge. It's only 84 Fahrenheit on the track for our drivers, and hopefully that'll give a little bit more grip. Maybe offer us a little more side-by-side racing. And unfortunately, we're only going to have 20 starters for this feature, but we should have one back out there. Unfortunately, I think there was an issue for Joey Tebben. He'll start from pit lane.
He will get out there once everything is running. And to speak on the temperature change, Joe, the lower track temperature is going to mean that you can be more aggressive, especially on this outlap. We'll see if any of these high-place sprint finishers are aggressive going out into turn 5.
Indeed. In the case of Ellis, that race is definitely going to hurt his championship. But for Andrew Hardman, managing to finish with, it was double checking on that, with 4th place. That will continue to do well for him in the points. None of his rivals, I think, finished ahead of him. Stephen Jeffrey is not a concern for his in the points battle. He's way, way behind him, joined late in the season. So that wound up working quite well for our points leader, despite him not having a win still.
I agree. That was a great points haul for Andrew Hardman right there. Also, Nick Horvath with a good points haul in that 5th place position.
Good point. Yeah, that'll do well for Horvath there. But what's this one going to do? Because it's more points on tap here for the feature. The sprint is slightly lessened. The winner gets 12 in those. And here we go, as the pace car going to show you that pit entry that we were talking about. Narrow and tight into there. Not their concern yet, but it will be soon enough, as Bedard goes very early. Green flag is out, and he is off and away, trying to take advantage of the track position he has been gifted in this regrid behind him. Looks like Robert Ridgway going to slip into 3rd, but Jasper going to attack him for it and can't quite get the job done. No, maybe he will. Going way wide. It looks like Ridgway just loses a little grip.
Yeah, it's getting busy up here into turn 4, New Gardens Corner, as you call it, and looks like Bouchard is starting to make some moves, as well as Almeida up into turn 5, really late on the brakes like I was expecting, and they're starting to really move their way through the field together.
And critically for Almeida, he's still ahead of Bouchard, just not by much. You can see them weaving back and forth there in the mid-pack as they come down into Museum Corner. Most of them managing to get single file here quick enough. I can tell you that Tebben did get out on track, but he's running last currently after being released from his pit stall here at the drop of the green. Almeida, whoa, who's that off? That's Jasper.
Jasper just got too wide on one of the chicanes, and the grass spit him out the other way.
And I think that I'm trying to figure if that's damage or if he's just struggling to get the car onto the pavement. I think it's
damage. He hit the guardrail pretty hard, unfortunately.
Oh, Horvath also had an off. So he went off out of the tunnel turn, unfortunately. It looks like he may have gotten the wall as we watch Phil Bouchard currently up to 5th position, still chasing on Almeida, as they almost make contact through the Alabama roller coaster. That's Robert Ridgway just in front of them. And this is an excellent run from Suelo. He's going to get the inside coming down to Charlotte's Web. This looks like a slam dunk to me.
And here comes Bouchard. He's going to take the open door right there as well, follow his buddy Almeida through, and actually he gets a better run coming out of turn 5. We'll see if he pokes the nose. No, he thinks better of it, tucks back in line. And I want to mention Alex Ellis had a relatively quiet first half of the first lap, but has really turned it on inside the top 10.
Yeah, he's trying really hard to make up for that race because he needs these points in the feature. At least he's got more time to try and do it, but these guys are taking no time at all. Was that a bump draft there from Phil?
It looked like it. He was close enough. I think he was just saying, hey, let's go. Let's keep it going.
This is currently for second position. Dante Quispe currently in that spot in the number 15 and actually doing a pretty good job keeping them down for the time as Almeida tries to hunt for an opening. Down into turn 1, the single file left-hander plunging down and then compressing as they switch sides. Gonna leave the door open. Looks like Dante might lose the spot, and indeed he does.
And he's gonna have a compromised run up over turn 4. Bouchard, actually look at them! Both of them lose it in front of Bouchard. Keeps it on the track, but Almeida, the second race in a row, wide out of turn 4.
But a 360, a brilliant 360 where he caught the car, and he's only down to 5th. I don't think he's out of this race. He's under threat, though. We'll want to replay that when we can get the opportunity. Broomhead tries to see if he can take that spot away from him, but no dice. Down in the museum turn, behind them another spin. I'm trying to make out who that is. It looks like Nikatembev.
Are you serious? Dante has only lost a couple positions? How? How did he hang on to that?
I don't know, but that was a fantastic recovery there that he managed to keep that car pointed the right way. Let's take a look at the replay. We need on board of this. Looks like we'll need to go back just a little farther, maybe about 30 seconds here. That core, I mean, we were talking about it before. I've been referring to it as Newgarden's Crest because it's so easy to get things wrong. And did we go a little too far back? Okay, so this is on the backstretch, so we'll stick with this until they get up through turn 4 here. So
yeah, it all happens in turn 4. And Joe, if you remember, in the sprint race, Almeida went wide in turn 4 and was able to keep it. And this time he goes even wider, and the 360 is just unbelievable.
Here we go. This is what I wanted to see. This is a great move here. He saw the door open, figured this is my best chance, was able to find the grip, and not sure what happened. Just way off the line. What in the world?
But hey, all that matters is 10 for 10 on the execution of the 360. And like I said, turn 4 is so blind, you really have to pick your turn-in point, and if you don't turn enough, you can find yourself offline.
Okay, so he's still in 4th. He's already overtaken Ridgway, although Ridgway could have his nose underneath him down into the carousel. Doesn't look like it's quite going to stick. And he's got to set his sights up to Quispe in front of him, get back into 3rd, see if he can catch up to Bouchard, who's been his main rival in this race. Bouchard now trying to stay with Bedard in front of him, although that's still a 2.5-second gap as well. And way wide behind him. That was Ridgway, who seems to be having trouble trying to keep it on the racing line.
I tell you what, Alex Ellis is sitting at the buffet table right now. He's got 3 cars lined up directly in front of him. He's just got to be smart in how he picks his way. He's going to take it late on the brakes right here, get around Andrew Hardman, gets a nice good launch out, and look at this. He might even get Robert Ridgway on the heading down to this museum corner.
And on screen, we were watching Quispe have to hold back Almeida as they were side by side through there, but now those behind them, wheel to wheel, Ridgway versus Ellis. Ellis up to 7th, still has a few more to go to at least reach a top 5, let alone a podium here today. And certainly some of the battling in front of him between Almeida and Quispe won't hurt that.
No, and I think that Quispe is just, he's doing a great job. He's hitting all of his marks out front. He's not making any mistakes, and these cars behind him are just starting to stack up a little bit, but that's the nature of this grid invert.
Yeah, just got to deal with it. It happens every race. You know it's coming. Got to try and make your way forward. Still not seeing Suelo able to do much with Quispe, which is a bit surprising. I don't think Quispe is slow. I just didn't think he had the pace to really fight this hard and be able to retain that #1 car. Let's see if he's going to keep him behind once again. Oh, he sells him a dummy. He leaves the door open just enough that he's going to get to the inside, but the over-under puts him back ahead of him. It's still side by side, just barely. Now he shuts the door.
Little bit of a late second move, but gets the over-under done, and Almeida has to try again. He's all up on him underneath the brake zone, but it really is the power coming off of the corners, Joe. You got to be able to put the traction down coming off the corner in order to complete the pass.
And this is compressing those behind them significantly, riding on board with Suelo. But Ellis is climbing over the gearbox of Michael Broomhead because of Broomhead having no place to go with these two fighting. It's been phenomenal stuff. Let's hope it doesn't wind up like we saw before, where Ellis chucked it off the corner in this upcoming left-hander and found himself in the wall onto the front stretch. That's not a good enough exit for Suelo this time. Behind them, I can tell you that Ellis is really breathing down the neck of the double lots.
Yeah, well, I want to ride on board with Alex Ellis because he's actually got a perfect view. Oh my goodness, Almeida gets a little bit twitchy going down turn 3, and here's this run going up into turn 5 once again. Almeida looks close enough. You know he's going to try to make a late move, but Quispe with the big block down the inside. Here comes Broomhead around the outside. See what he can do. He's going to take the position away from Almeida.
He's trying to, couldn't quite get the throttle down. That would have been a super clever move there. And unfortunately, oh, it's going to lose him one, maybe. Can he keep it on the course? He does. Alex Ellis, oh, and locking up the brakes. It's all happening at once. That was Almeida trying to keep from running into the back of Quispe. Now, once again, he's on the defense as Alex Ellis gets to the inside. Too much curb. He can't quite get it done. Now Broomhead for it. Once again, everybody is grasping at straws. As soon as they see an opportunity, they're pouncing.
Joe, I'm really impressed with the driving out of Alex Ellis. He's not only being aggressive and moving forward, but you can see he's thinking about the championship as, oh my goodness, Broomhead got really close right there, but all of Alex's moves have been really clean and he's still moving forward.
Everybody in this group has been unbelievable the way they've raced as hard as they have. Oh, and unfortunately, both Hardman and Broomhead off course through turn 1 when a mistake from the double aught causes a checkup.
And here we go one more time down into turn 5 with Keefs, Almeida, and also Ellis here. Little bit of a lockup from Dante, and that's going to open the door finally for Suelo and Alex.
And also we see this side-by-side between Ridgway and Jeffrey. Jeffrey trying to take that 6th spot, but once again, a little bit too deep into the hairpin, and he takes it right back. Have to be so on point into that corner to get the job done. But Quispe finally bested Almeida and Ellis into 3rd and 4th.
A lot of these sim events, there's the action kind of spreads itself out, but I'm really impressed every single lap is here. We got Peterson also being overtaken here. Looks like Stefan Jeffrey's gonna go up a spot.
Finally gets that 6th position. A couple drivers behind him also trying to make up for a poor race. Joey Haynes, remember what happened to him? Well, he's up to 8th now, 6 gained since the start of this feature. Wound up only 14th back in the sprint, and he just went by Dave Peterson and Andrew Hardman.
And something else to keep an eye on, Joe. Our lead battle has now shrunk down to under half a second. Phil Bouchard has officially caught Scott Bedard out front.
Yeah, it's been quite a while, so credit to Scott. He's been running a pretty decent pace that Phil had to work as hard as he did to run him down. And if they're that close on pace, based on what we've seen farther back in the pack, I imagine this is going to be a really tough nut to crack.
I couldn't agree more. The 83 has done a fantastic job out front. He was setting fast laps earlier in the race. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, these cars are going to have to come in and hit during this race, and that might throw this whole strategy game upside down.
They do indeed. They need fuel. They don't have to take tires. In fact, they probably will not. But they need a splash to get to the end of this thing. And they should be pitting probably within the next 8 minutes or so. Usually it can make about 2/3 at max at most circuits. This isn't really known as a very thirsty track.
No, not a thirsty track, but I always like the overcut, undercut possibilities, especially when you can't get by him on track. The easiest pass you can make is in pit lane.
Look at that weaving back and forth. Bedard just making life difficult. Oh, but he overshoots it. He misses his brake marker, and Bouchard is past. He's into the lead. I don't know that Bedard's going to be able to do much from here unless he makes a real sneak attack.
Bouchard has definitely been the faster of the two cars, and just a little bit too deep into turn 5 from Scott Bedard, and unfortunately lets the 73 through, and he's going to have to pick up the pieces right now and maybe hope for a bad strategy call or find some pace in order to catch him again.
Yeah, I know it's not over, but I imagine it's all done bar the shouting for Bouchard. He's got nobody who we realistically think can challenge him.
Alex Ellis has a huge problem coming out of one of the chicanes. He might be able to hang on to it. Wow.
Wow.
What a save.
That was a lot of lawn mowing. He went along almost the length of the entire backstretch there in the grass, and then somehow managed to slip his way back on, and seems to be just generally unfazed.
Well, and that's one of these areas that if you go off, oftentimes it spits you back out into the driver's right wall, and Alex Ellis was able to keep the car straight, which is exactly what he needed to do to save his race.
Just a little too much curb, and they do have some paved runoff to that outside, but he ran out of it pretty quickly. And yeah, great peace of mind, a great heads up in that situation to see, okay, this is where the track is going. Let's just aim for that and give up on trying to get back on the straight.
And to mention that track out, Joe, that you were mentioning, that paved runoff, it really is almost an access road that goes across the track. So not very much grip and space out there. It's more to just barely save it if you step over.
Coming down through Museum Corner, Quispe has fallen into the clutches of Jeffrey, Haynes, Ridgway, and Hardman. He's been playing a rear guard for much of this race, but that's the nature of the regrid. Down to the inside, coming into 11. Can he manage to get his way through? Cut back, brilliant move, perfect timing from Stephen Jeffrey, and he's going to have the lap traffic, which they split on either side, and still the battle is not done. He tries to come back at him, but it looks like Dante will have to give best to both Haynes and Jeffrey. How did they not wreck there?
It was impressive, 3 wide, splitting the lap car, and just great job awareness from everybody. And oh no, Haynes has got to avoid. We had a problem there with Stephen Jeffrey out of turn 1. Another 360 and keeps it going.
Whew. So that's twice now we've seen drivers unfortunately do their best Tony Hawk, and it's not going to get them all that many bonus points, as they'll just have to suffer with a loss of time and off track. That smoke was Robert Burgess, who has unfortunately had to tow the car. I think he might be done.
Joe, with all of this action that's been going on, Joey Haynes up into the top 5. He's up into the 5th place position. Alex Ellis up into 4th. He's still battling back behind Almeida. Lost a little bit of ground, but I'm so impressed with this 99.
Yeah, he qualified 8th. So he's actually higher up than where he qualified in the sprint race. He's been doing just unbelievably well here today. Broomhead, in the meantime, here has not only had an off in turn 1, but also now a full 360, and somehow is still rolling, and the car doesn't look damaged from what I can tell, as we got a couple takers in pit lane. Mark Boyd going to be the first to blink.
Yeah, this is kind of, we've passed the halfway point, so the pit window is officially open to really make it on the end. And Stephen Jeffrey, also another one of these cars that's trying to get around Robert Ridgway. I'm impressed that 360 degrees around on these tires doesn't seem to phase him.
James Carter, another driver, giving us his feed tonight. And as usual, he's got his biggest fan with him. but he's not doing too well in the race today. He is actually sitting 19th. Let's see if he pits in this time. Nope, he's going to stay out. Just carry on.
You know, I had to slap my knee there, Joe.
I didn't come up with that joke. I have to give credit to other GSRC commentators for making that pun, and we just stuck with it. Oh man, tight here between Jeffrey and Ridgway. Ridgway gets a little bit better momentum, but just doesn't have the track position. So Jeffrey will hold on. Oh, and our leaders are in. Bouchard, Bedard, both pitting this lap.
I'm watching Bouchard. Looks like he hits his marks perfectly coming into his box there, and that's one of the things that you have to do. Don't give up any unnecessary time.
So a lot more drivers pitting in. I'm hoping maybe we can catch one heading into pit lane here soon from an onboard, just to show you how little wiggle room they have into there. Jeffrey will move up to second. Haynes will inherit the lead. Now, they don't get a bonus point for leading a lap, although they do get a bonus point for fastest lap, as well as pole when you get that in the sprint race. But at least for Joey Haynes, he has cleared track for a while.
So you've mentioned pit lane entry a couple times now, Joe, and to speak on that, because I've gotten to drive this racetrack, I actually don't think that pit lane entry is very difficult, because all you have to do is completely blow the corner on the racetrack and you end up in pit lane out there. It's kind of one of these funny things that if you just overcharge the corner, you end up out there, and as long as you can slow it down before the wall, you're in good shape.
Well, see, that's the part that I've seen multiple times drivers screw up. The drivers will practice regular corners all day. Many of them haven't practiced this nearly as much, knowing where the brake marker is down into here, and you got to maximize it, because the cones are not until, where is it? Right there.
And I will say that corner in real life is actually far tighter and narrower than what we saw here in the sim.
Yeah, so no, I'm glad it's a little bit easier to get the initial entry right, but yeah, in sim racing, I've seen multiple times where guys have embarrassingly ended their race just plowing into the tire barrier because they got a little ambitious trying to make up time on their way in, which means now that the pit stops have gone, Bouchard has the P1 with 11 minutes to go and is already 9 seconds ahead of Bedard.
Yeah, I was just going to point that out. Really impressive lap times being laid down from the number 73 machine. Already 9.5 seconds in front of Scott Bedard. Almeida still hanging on to third, and Alex Ellis now only about 1.5 seconds back. He had fallen all the way back to about 2.5 seconds behind the number one car before the pit stops.
And Alex is actually, well, Almeida had his spin, so that helped a lot, but Alex has run down Suelo in a big way. The gap has been cut significantly far from where it stood at the grid. Do we have a problem with Hardin there? Saw a little smoke as I looked over.
He's been in the wars, and it looks like he's back in 8th place right now, trying to get by Robert Ridgway. And Robert Ridgway has also been in the thick of things. It seems like this mid-pack battle hasn't gone anywhere.
Double checking, I think maybe that, okay, so that was a car in front of Hardman that locked up the brakes, so that might have been actually Ridgway who caused that smoke that I saw. Easy to do down through Museum Corner. Haven't talked about Dave Peterson a whole lot, though. He's back here in 14th. He's unfortunately lost 3 positions, but that's nothing compared to Horvath in front of him. He's down 8.
I mentioned the good points haul from the sprint race that Nick Horvath had. Unfortunately, the feature not going his way. Dave Peterson trying to recollect himself as well as that 382 and work their way up. You see Dante Keith right in front of them.
This is going to get interesting here as they come down to the braking of Charlotte's Web. Once again, defensive move from Horvath. Peterson can't get it done around the outside, can't cut back for the over-under on him. Will they keep catching up to Dante? He's already out of the top 10, which is sadly for him going to mean he's got a worse finish. Whoa, problem for Nick Horvath, and his woes are not over. Thankfully, there's a lot of gravel there on the outside of that corner, and he did not cut across and run into Keystay, but oh my goodness.
We just had a retirement from Alex Ellis here on lap 16. Joe, remember how he got out wide on that chicane a few laps ago? Identical problem, and this time the track bit back and he went into the guardrail.
Oof, yeah, we'll want a replay of this one for the number 5. Just hard into that wall. Really a shame because he was doing so good to make up for it, but again, his championship hopes are going to be dashed because I believe that's going to be a big fat goose egg for both races for him.
And in fact, yeah, look at this. Almeida has caught Bedard. Going by a lap car, it's always tricky to navigate around. You're not sure what's going to happen, and just got to stay on the old keep your head on a swivel, I guess.
Exactly. Behind them, Ben Willett is a lap down, so he's not a concern of these guys, despite being close. Swinging it out wide, maybe trying to square off these last couple corners, as Bedard in front of him couldn't hold Bouchard back. He made a mistake there. Did he learn from last time as he steeled himself and figured out how to keep from avoiding those critical errors here? And can he hold off for 7 minutes to get a P2?
If you're on the radio with Bedard right now, you just got to instill calm and confidence in your driver. Just hit your marks. Almeida has had trouble getting around several cars getting to this position, and as long as you hit your marks, focus on exit, you're going to stay in the position that you're in.
And off the corner now, he's right there with him. Almeida is going to have about 5 laps to try and get by this number 83. And remember, he managed to second place in the first one. Can he repeat that here today? He's going to have to work hard for it. That is for sure. They've got no challenge from behind. Which actually, my goodness, Joey Haynes is 13 seconds behind them. It is massively spread apart at the front of the field because, as we mentioned, Bouchard had pulled a huge gap. He's got that up to 11.7 seconds now and continues to grow it.
Yeah, really impressive with the gap that Bouchard has continued to pull at. I do think that Suelo has a little bit more pace right now than Bedard, but look at this. As long as you hit your marks, that's what Scott needs to do there in the second place position. Focus on the exit. I mentioned that Barber, you have to be aggressive, but if you want to keep your position, you got to be good on the exits.
Asad Nakatembev, unfortunately, another one, almost a carbon copy of what happened to Ellis there out of turn 11 on the chicane on the backstretch. Just bounced off the wall after the car span from the touch of the grass. Almeida, is he within reach? I don't think so on this one. And yeah, just a little too far behind into Museum Corner this time. Scott seems to have learned his lesson thus far, as he's lasted a little bit longer with Suelo on his tail than he did with Phil.
I'm going to give credit to Suelo. You know, Bedard's doing a great job hitting his marks, but oh no, big moment from Suelo there. He's able to save it. We've seen it catch several cars, and great save from Suelo Almeida.
Such a high commitment corner, that one, and a little bit blind too, especially in these very low radicals as you're trying to spot yourself coming through there. And seems like maybe a few are just overly ambitious. Robert Ridgway still in the top 6, but sandwiched currently between Broomhead and Hardman.
Hardman is back there in the 7th place position here. Robert Ridgway in the 6th spot. Michael Broomhead in that other blue car up in the 5th place. And Andrew Hardman's been doing a pretty good points haul. A little bit of a slide there coming out onto the front straightaway. But you got to think, if Hardman stays clean here, he's going to have another good points in the feature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 7th place, probably not what he's hoping for, but he's had a couple issues in this feature. I believe it was Broomhead that spun in front of him through turn 1 that caused him to lose a couple spots right there. So maybe he could do something to pressurize Ridgway into a mistake. It's not close enough this time, that's for sure. Down into Charlotte's Web. Instead, Hardman is the one to make a mistake as he gets turned around.
Unfortunately, all that hard work. Looks like he's only going to lose 1 spot on track. And yeah, you know, I just look at all these front runners that in the championship have had tough days with Alex Ellis and a few others. And this is one of those rounds that the least you can bleed, that the better off you are.
Joey Haynes actually is probably the one that's going to be able to take advantage in the feature, even more than I think what we saw out of Hardman in that sprint, because as I mentioned earlier, it's fewer points available for the sprint races. So yes, Joey Haynes is only going to get a fourth place here, but he's going to get a bigger haul. And of course, we don't know if we'll get another accident from those battling for second in front of him. Meanwhile, we're looking at those two right now.
And you're right, Joey Haynes could be even more collecting points if these two get into it. And Almeida is back up on the back wing of Scott Bedard for the second place as we go down through the museum turn. Now, this is the heading to that high-speed chicane that we've seen so many of these racers have trouble.
Spit out a lot of cars, just chewed them up. And once again, you've seen a lot of that grass flirting with disaster. Suelo is not afraid. The Canadian driver has been just on top of things, but has not been mistake-proof, unfortunately. And that might be what's costing him a chance to fight for the victory in both of the sprint and feature races this evening. 2 minutes to go. Once again, kicking up a lot of dirt. That is a corner where you can't afford to do that.
Definitely not. You see him instantly lose that track position, and I do still think that Suelo has a little bit more speed than Bedard with the way he's able to catch him, but he's just got to focus on getting that corner exit down. You can get up alongside, but in order to complete the pass, it's all on the exit.
Oh no, Michael Broomhead is in pit lane again. I checked, it's not a penalty. I think he underfueled the car. He was in a great battle with Robert Ridgway, and it's come undone, unfortunately. So with a minute and some change left to go, he needs a splash and dash, and then he can return.
It's tough. I've been there. You know, you don't have somebody to rely.
Sorry, this is Bedard. Off track. Almeida is finally through. He got him to crack, and it was down through Museum Corner. Not sure if we have the time for the replay, but he just overshot the second half of the turn.
Yeah, it all started in the initial brake zone, and he just got in too deep. You called it late on the brakes on the second apex and couldn't keep it collected. Opened the door for Suelo, and he kindly walked through.
Well, made life easy, so it's going to be the same 1-2, it looks like, for our top two in the sprint and the feature. This man, I believe, is on the white flag lap. It might be a little close, but I'm pretty certain he had crossed the line with less than 1:17 to go, which is about what most of the laps have been. Let's see how he handles down through Museum Corner. A lot of that left-hand curve there. Very reminiscent of the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. And here's the trouble corner, that chicane on the backstretch. What about how he goes through a lot of curve once again? Oh, don't throw it away on the last lap, bud.
Yeah, had me smiling right there as he just barely hangs on to it. One more overcrest and just a couple more corners left.
Yep, this is the last lap. 8 seconds to go. He's not going to be able to reach the finish line to start another one. A double for Phil Bouchard. We had been told he is likely to be a major force here in his one-off, and he was, taking both the sprint and the feature win.
Impressive day for the number 73 machine as Suelo is rounding the final corner. He's going to claim the second spot just like how he did in the sprint, and looks like Joey Haynes is actually going to round out the podium in the number 99.
Yeah, Bedard just wrecked coming through 12 and 13 up over the tunnel turn.
He ran out of gas, Joe. I'm seeing in the chat he ran out of gas.
Oh no, of all things to happen. He was looking at a podium at the very least. Haynes with a shock podium up there from 14th on the grid in this feature. Ridgway with an excellent fourth. Hardman promoted to a top 5. He gets a couple positions.
And some more action as they're all coming out. I think that was Dave Peterson there coming 6th, and then Mark Boyd, I believe that was, with the problems coming out onto the final corner. Is he going to lose another? Oh, Broomhead gets by as well.
Yeah, he might have damaged the engine, or he's also out of fuel because the car is creeping. And he's going to lose. Yeah, he's going to be the last one on the lead lap here, unfortunately, because there goes Sutherland by. And that is going to finish us up for the racing, but not for the show. We'll come back after this with driver interviews as well as the unofficial results, so stick around. Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park, our latest round of the Canada Winter Series for the Radical Cup has given us quite the exciting finish, especially for Bedard, but maybe not exciting in the way that he anticipated. We got a replay that since we didn't get to really cover what happened to him, it seems like I'll wonder if he hadn't have had that off here that he just happened, I think, right before we picked this up, if he maybe would have got to the finish, Joey, because it looks like this is where the car sputtered and couldn't go any further.
Yeah, you see Bedard off pace. He clips the curb right there, and it's a good point. You wonder if he would be able to keep the momentum. He just couldn't get the car back going after that incident.
A real shame, but not if you're Phil Bouchard, as our results see him win not only as a sprint, but the feature as well. Suelo Almeida, same thing, second place in the sprint and the feature. Suelo, though, was the one that was fighting with Bedard all the way to the finish and eventually got that mistake out of him. Joey Haynes was P3, up from 14th here in the feature race, which might actually wind up giving him the points lead after today. We'll see. Robert Ridgway was 4th, and Andrew Hardman did get a top 5 here in the feature, so that will help Andrew significantly there. Dave Peterson was 6, up 5 spots. Dante Quispe up and down the order today. He gained a few there at the end with some of the issues we saw with other drivers. Still a 7th, not bad. Michael Broomhead, 8th place. Probably would have liked more because he is up there in the points, but today was kind of a bit of a missed opportunity for him. Joseph Yang was 9th, and then Steven Sutherland, a gain of 6 to finish 10th.
And then we have Mark Boyd there in the 11th spot, the last car on the lead lap, as we see Scott Bedard with those troubles that we highlighted there. In the 12th position, 1 lap down, John Benwilid, Christian Jasper, James Carter, who we were riding on board with a little bit earlier, finishes 2 laps down in the 16th spot. Nick Horvath, Asad Nikodenbev, and then Stefan Jeffrey, and further down had many problems, and Alex LSUC down there, Robert Burgess, and Joey Tebbin in the 21st spot.
Yeah, Tebbin had some hardware issues that unfortunately ended his race pretty much when it started here for the feature. But the winner, Phil Bouchard, ready to talk to us in that number 73. And Phil seems to have really had a lockdown on this one. You did have some pressure, Phil, because you didn't have pole there in the sprint race, and you had to fight Suelo for it. But you wound up on top. Was he a pretty tough customer?
Oh, yeah, he is. And you know what? Suelo, it's been like 2 years that we're fighting in every single race. So it was fun having him here and fighting with him. Sometimes I'm on top, sometimes he's on top. So it's just how it is. But yeah, it was fun.
Now, I understand that you've had a bit of a special deal recently with a rig company, and that's partly why you're here for this one. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I work with Advanced Sim Racing, and Advanced Sim Racing has made a deal with Radical Motorsport to introduce the official sim racing rig for Radical. So we've collaborated with them to create a rig that would fit the driving position, would have like the best hardware for the drivers to train. So you can head to advancedsimracing.com. I think there's some pictures out there. It'll be available soon, but it was just kind of a showcase of that deal that we made with Radical, and hopefully we see more and more drivers, practicing on the sim and having fun, because it's growing, and we really like that.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. I was told that you're here as sort of a wild card / one-off. Is this going to be the only time you're showing, or will you be back to really stomp on some of these guys?
I'm pretty sure for this season it'll be only this time. The series is meant a little bit more for like amateur pro-am drivers, but hopefully we get like a pro series. Maybe the guys at Radical Canada want to kind of step up a notch and create a pro series for us. So I'll be there if there's one. So
I'd love to watch that. Yeah, let me know if they do, because I will be there. That sounds fantastic. Well, congratulations doing the back-to-back tonight. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you more in the future, sir.
Yeah, can I do a couple of thanks?
Go for it, absolutely.
Just want to shout out to Suelo and Alex, amazing driving, and also Robert and Mike from Radical to invite me as a guest here today.
Great stuff. Phil Bouchard, your winner in both races. Second, though, in both races, Suelo Almeida in the number one machine couldn't quite live up to that number on the car. Joey has caught up with him.
Yeah, we've got Suelo here in second place in both the sprint and the feature. And what did you think of racing these Radical Cup cars in the format that you saw tonight?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, it's the first time I drove this car today. I did test it once when it launched, but it was I was just like, oh, this car's under Siri, bye. And then I left. And then today I got this setup, and wow, this is such a lively car. It was amazing.
Uh-oh. We've still got you here, Suelo?
Well, looks like we may have lost connection with him here, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get him back here soon. We'll give it a second or two to see if connection comes back. Looks like we might have to switch over to the next one. So we'll come back to Suelo if we get word from him that he's back on and ready. I do want to talk to Joey Haynes, because what a wild story this is from Joey, after qualifying in 8th, settling for 14th, and then coming back from that 14th up to a podium. Joey, did you even think that a podium was possible from 14th here?
Not at all. No, I just tried to keep it as clean as possible. I saw that I had some good pace early in the race and was able to kind of keep up with some of the guys who were up front last time, but I didn't really think I was going to end up on the podium.
Yeah, and what a strange situation for you, because you were really dominating for a while, 3 straight wins, and suddenly Alex kind of took your hat and ran with it. He got 3 straight wins. And you came in here, you didn't seem to have great pace, only qualifying 8th, and things kind of messed up there in the feature, and you wind up, or messed up in the sprint, you wind up with this 3rd place. So, I mean, how do you even feel after that in terms of the championship? Because yes, there could have been more, but you still wound up sitting pretty well.
Yeah, I gotta be pretty honest. I didn't think I'd come out of the feature with what is effectively a win, because we had our two bushwhackers, if you will. But it was pretty awesome to be able to kind of come through for that. Yeah, the sprint race didn't go very well. I just made a few mistakes. I felt like my race pace was good. I've never been a strong qualifier, but didn't expect to pick up this many points. And I saw Andrew made a brief mistake there, and that's kind of my main battle for the championship right now. So it was nice to pick up some points on him and try and close that gap down.
Well, next time we're going to switch completely around from the tight and twisty confines here of Barber to the wide open long runs of Road America. How do you feel at big tracks like that?
Road America is one of my favorites, actually, so I'm pretty excited for that one. Anytime you get to go to that track, and pretty much any high downforce car, you're in for a good time. It's a high commitment track, but when you hit every corner correctly, it just feels spot on. So I'm looking forward to it.
We are as well. Well, congratulations again. A podium, at least in the features, where the bulk of the points are handed out. So hopefully we'll get to talk to you out in Wisconsin.
Hopefully. Thanks, Joe, and thanks for putting on a great broadcast.
Thank you. That was Joey Haynes, your third place finisher in the feature. Looks like we have gotten reconnected with Suelo Almeida, so Joey's going to pick that one back up.
Well, Suelo, first of all, congratulations on the second place. And now that we got you back in here, I want to talk to you about the most exciting part of the race that I saw. That was that 360 up and over turn 4, and it wasn't the first time that you explored the outside of the track there, was it?
No, it was not. I think I went off like 3 times in these 2 races, and surprisingly, somehow I was able to save it. Every time I went off in practice, I actually crashed. So, I don't know, just a little bit of extra adrenaline or something. I did everything I could humanly possible to save that, and I laughed a lot after. It was a nice shot for sure. I saved the replay, gonna make some content out of that.
It was a great save indeed, and we couldn't believe what we saw. And actually, if you go back and watch the broadcast, there is another 360 out there on track from another competitor as well. But talk to me about the format and how you had to go through the field in order to start the feature, because you and Phil Bouchard went 1-2 in both races, which means you started way back there in 9th and 10th place.
Yeah, honestly, since I've started iRacing 4 years ago, all the leagues that had inverted grid were the most fun, for sure. Like, I think my best memories in racing, in terms of just having fun and enjoying the hobby, was really inverted grids, because it just adds so much spice to the race. And you know that it's not only you versus like the grid, it's also the faster guys who are behind you who also treat you as traffic. So it just adds so much to the event, and I'm 100% sure it's more difficult for you guys as commentators to really see everything that's happening, because in 1 or 2 laps, like everything, like so many things happen at once. It's so fun. I really enjoy it. I also like the feel for the second race. Adds some extra strategy, maybe a little bit of fuel saving, having to practice the pit entry, pit exit. So no, it was a lot of fun. I was completely full sweat here, having to, it was amazing, really amazing, super fun.
Well, since you had so much fun, I know that Phil was kind of brought in here as a hired gun, if you will, for this event. Are we going to see you come back and race any more of these Radical Cup Series races?
I don't know, maybe. Right now, the thing is, I am preparing for Porsche Canada, and we've been putting like between 20 and 25 hours of practice a week. So it is a little bit intense. So I don't really know if it's actually a healthy idea to drive different cars and that end up affecting a little bit my muscular memory. But I will definitely love to do that. Definitely love to come back and do some more of these races.
And then last thing, anybody that you want to give a shout out to while we still got you here?
Oh, thank you so much, Matt. Matt is my teammate in Apex V2R. He was actually GT4 champion in 2021, and he was spotting for me this race, and we just had so much fun. I actually asked him to stop practicing his own thing so he could spot for me. and we had some good laughs in these races. Actually, he was like not believing at all when I did the 360 there. He was like, save it, save it, save it, save it. So it was super fun. So special thanks for him, and for Apex V2R, for Mark and Dre, for the support, and just this is the team that really literally put me in real life last year. So it was amazing. Special thanks for them, and special thanks to my girlfriend who patiently waited for this race and for this interview and for everything. So I love you, and that's it. Thank you, and thank you. Oh, thank you, James Carter, for inviting me. By the way, for this race, this was amazing. James is my student for a long time already. I think we've been working together for like 2 years, and I'm very proud of his development in sim racing, and it's just amazing. That we worked together for so long, and he's a very good friend, so thank you.
Well, make sure to go back and watch the broadcast, clip that 360, and share it with all your friends, because that was a great one. And that was Suelo Almeida, your second place finisher here at Barber Motorsports Park.
Which is going to wrap us up, and we can't thank those behind the scenes enough at the Radical Cup Canada Winter Series for bringing us on to cover this season. It's been fantastic. But also thanks to the team today, Joey, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race, Road America, will be Friday, February 17th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
Wow.